This week's podcast is brought to you by Southwest Sanitation. Since 1967, the professionals at Southwest Sanitation have brought you reliable and honest service. We offer commercial, rural, and residential services, as well as roll-offs and portable toilets. Call your locally owned and operated neighbors at Southwest Sanitation for all your sanitation needs. 507-532-4500.
Welcome to the 26th edition of the Headlight Hot Seat. And today we are glad to be joined by two very fine gentlemen in Tracy, two movers and shakers, so to speak, Mr. Cassidy Arnold and John Lanou from representing St. Mary's School. Thanks for joining us, fellas.
Thanks for having us, Per.
We are here today to talk about the aptly the winter warm-up, which we all could use a little warming up right now. But before we get into that, let's talk about you guys, and let's everyone get to know who you guys are. Go ahead, Cassidy.
I'm Cassidy Arnold. I grew up outside of Tracy, 10 miles in between Dovry and Tracy. I graduated high school from Tracy and have 4 kids that are currently either in St. Mary's School or Tracy High School.
What year did you graduate? You can't ignore that.
2002.
All right, we got to age you. What's your kids' names?
Oldest is Tyler, then Emma, then Isaac, then Trevor.
Busy, busy man. And speaking of busy men, Mr. Lanou, you're pretty busy with your kids too.
Yep. A little history on myself here real quick. I grew up here on a farm outside of Tracy, lived here most of my life. I was St. Mary's class in 1992, graduated high school in 99 from Tracy High School here. Got my teaching degree and taught for a few years, taught in Tracy here for 6.5, and then we've been living on the farm where we've raised our 4 kids, Connor, Carson, Caroline, and Cooper. So 4 of them that have gone through St. Mary's School.
Whose idea was it to go with all C's? Was that
Good question. I think it was incidental. We got 2 done, and it just seemed fitting to go with 3 and then 4. The 4th one we might have had to make sure we had a C, that one for sure.
Nice. So let's talk about St. Mary's School. To start out, before we get into the winter warm-up, you know, I always thought, and I grew up in Tracy, and I really respect and appreciate a small-town atmosphere. And St. Mary's really offers that as far as student-teacher ratio. So you guys have raised kids, and you still are in that school system. What, in your opinion, is great about St. Mary's School, besides just the student-teacher ratio? Either one of you can throw that back at me.
Well, I went to school at the public school, but my wife went to school at St. Mary's. And when we moved back from South Dakota, I was more interested in it for the small class size. But after being there, I'm big on the faith-based aspect of it. I feel that I personally feel our kids will be set up better to succeed going through St. Mary's School.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, when we started having kids, and obviously I have some history with St. Mary's School, and it was very important for us to, I was worried we weren't going to fill the gaps get the faith that they needed, and so St. Mary's helped us fill that gap maybe by surrounding them by the faith and every day and the freedom to pray or talk with God or however they felt inclined. Just to be able to do that without any penalty, I feel like was a good thing for them, and it was a natural fit for us too with being an alumni. But my wife, who is not an alumni, has fallen in love with the school as well and what it can provide for our kids and the challenging curriculum and the success that our kids have had after St. Mary's. I credit a lot of that to what they did learn when they were in school there.
You know, I've told people this a lot, that when I interact with the kids at St. Mary's, it is so rewarding for me. And I'm not just saying this because you guys are here, but they're so personable. They're so friendly. They're approachable. They're outgoing. And you don't get that with a lot of kids these days. Can you talk about, beyond just learning math, English, whatever the science, just the people that are being formed there and how these kids are being raised?
I think something that's beneficial is our kids. It's a small school, and our kids, whether you're in sixth grade or kindergarten, they know everybody, and so they interact. Our older kids learn how to interact with the younger ones, even if they have no younger ones at home, or vice versa. These young ones look up to these older kids. I mean, this goes back to when I was in there as well. I remember, I had some of the Dolan kids were kindergartners when I was graduating, and we retained a friendship because of that all the way through, and we're still friends with them in different regards, and that because of the relationship we had when we were younger. So the small, tight-knit family feel of the school is certainly something that I think creates some confidence in our kids and their ability to interact with people they don't know and people they are more comfortable with. I think it's a good thing for them to grow up in that.
Does that make your job as parents easier, is kind of an easy word to use, but knowing that these kids are being raised outside of you guys, your wife and yourself, does it give you a certain level of comfort that your kids are in a good place, they're safe, they're being raised outside the home in a good way?
Absolutely. Just like what John said, just with the kids all being different grades and being able to be friends with each other and talk to each other, it just gets them to where they're, I don't know how to say it.
I think it goes beyond even the classroom. I mean, we as parents fully know who our parents of the kids are that our kids are hanging out with too. So with complete confidence, we send our kids there. We're surrounding them with good families, with good family roots and good family faith and good family values that, we surround our kids. Once they leave our door, we can't control what happens.
Right.
But if we put them in the right surroundings and give them the opportunity to make the good decisions and filter some of that out, I mean, I think that's definitely a value for us too, that we're well aware if our kid is going to a sleepover with another kid at St. Mary's that, we're confident that they're a good family. We have faith in sending them over there.
All right, let's talk winter warm-up. When did winter warm-up start?
Oh, is this our third or fourth year?
Fourth year.
Fourth year.
It's your fourth, okay.
We just to touch on how it came about. Once a year, kind of as the school year would get going, we would have a People's Club meeting, and at the meeting you'd have the chairs of different fundraisers, and you'd go over what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and then at the end, Andrea Schreier was talking about, well, what new fundraiser should we try to do?
Because let me interrupt, you used to like sell calendars, or the old school way of fundraising was always sending the kids out with the parents selling something, right?
Yeah, we did magazines and cookware and
And it really got to the point where we were in the middle of a fundraiser and we would kick off another fundraiser. So we were just continuously right out of the gate. I mean, we were just bombarding these families with fundraising. And truthfully, a lot of them fundraisers were, some were $500 fundraisers, or maybe they were, $5,000 fundraisers, but they were small nuggets of what we were trying to get to. And we just had a slug of fundraisers. So we were trying to look at a way that maybe we can, busy families, the culture's changed, kids are, it's harder to track these people down and chase people around. We found it out ourselves. It was harder to chase to my relatives and ask them for a magazine sale or whatever. So I just finally said, why don't we just go and ask these people for some money? Just straight up ask them. It's 100% donation. We don't have to sell them something and something that they probably don't want. And this winter warm-up idea came about was, let's give them a fun evening and really just ask them for a donation and ask them one time instead of asking them 10 or 12 times a year.
Well, the magazine thing or whatever you're selling, that kind of ran its course years ago. I mean, it's hard enough to raise money, and with put your hands out literally and say, please donate. To me, the winter warm up is something that gives back as well as as you're taking something or asking for something, you're also giving something. So what goes into that planning and just, making sure that people, this is not your ordinary banquet. I never thought it was because it's such a fun time. So what goes into just planning it and making sure it's something special every winter?
Well, it really comes down to time.
Of course.
Like, John and I will go back and forth on stuff, and we'll think we have a direction we're going on something, and then he'll say something or I'll say something, and then we kind of get a squirrel shiny object moment, and we start going the other way. And it just seems like over time it just works its way in to where we're just out to try to entertain people is kind of what we talk about is we're selling a show.
Mm-hmm.
We want everybody to be entertained and come out and spend their money and just leave going, well, I want to come back next year to see what they do next year.
When you talk about selling a show, I like that phrase. What are some of the things you guys have done in the past? Because I know you've done some very nice garb in the past, and I was there, and the people love it, and they really get a kick out of it. I know the kids love it, but the adults too, don't they?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a
Don't
few
be
things
bashful.
here.
Come
I'm
on.
thinking of a few things here, but when you love something or someone, you would do anything you could for that person or that thing. And in this case, we both, I would say, love what St. Mary's does for us, and that causes you to do some foolish things sometimes and make fools of ourselves. It's a pretty easy target when Cassidy and I to have some fun with it. So the second year, we kind of had this brainchild that maybe we kind of throw people off a little bit and have kind of a grandiose entrance and we came up with some kind of a skit, I guess, that involved each of us kind of dressing up and we did kind of it was our end of our candy sales at the time, so it was a natural tie-in to go with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory here. So we had Willy and his chocolate factory of Oompa Loompas come in out of the back room, and I think it kind of threw people for a little loop. We had a few people get up on stage, and we gave away some fun prizes, and that was really neat. And then last year, we talked Cassidy into wearing a toga.
Was that hard to do, or was that like?
Yeah, it's
No, it was more my idea. I was
Yeah.
pretty excited about it.
So Cassidy in his toga and dressed up as Cupid. We were right around Valentine's Day, and it really tied in nicely. Just love was in the air kind of thing, and old Cupid there came out and made a fun little presentation of a few little raffle prizes that we do just specifically on that night. So in order to see us do something kind of silly, is you have to attend the event to see what else we're going to come up with for next year.
But banquets, by and large, they're not. I'm not going to say they're boring, but they're kind of cookie cutter. You go there, you look over some silent auction items, you eat, you drink, you have some good conversation. You guys take it a step further. How do you think that's resulted in the money you've been able to raise?
Well, like, I just look at first year, we didn't do a big thing. It was just more of a cookie cutter, and we exceeded our expectations.
But that was your first year. I mean,
Yeah, so I think a lot of it come down to when we started talking, we're like, well, what are we going to do to make it better? Because we felt that we needed to outdo the year before. So just through conversation and different ideas come the entertainment aspect of it to draw people to keep coming back year after year.
and even more than that, just anticipating it. Looking forward to it. Just we're not just going to go to a stuffy banquet, and I don't mean any disrespect to other banquets, whether it's waterfowl or the chamber banquet, but the fact that you guys take it a little bit of step further, you're okay with embarrassing yourself a little bit. John, I think you thrive off that, don't you?
I tend to embarrass myself often, I guess.
It's not a bad thing. And another unique part of this winter warm up is how you raise funds, your auction. It's not your typical people walking around the tables looking at stuff, signing up. Can you tell me a little bit about that online aspect of your auction?
You probably got a better way to explain it than I do.
The online version.
Yeah.
Okay, so we, in our development of this whole thing, we wanted to have a solid platform to work with, and we looked at other silent auction across the different areas, and this GiveSmart platform seemed to be the one that rose to the top. It was a credible site with the option to use credit cards and the option to see a live silent auction from any distance, and so we can do some bidding remotely, and a lot of our dollars actually come in remotely. Sometimes we had a lot of online bidders. I can't remember the number specifically. That first year we had 400 and some bidders, and there was only 200 people at the event. So half of them that entered into our auction platform were remotely. And the other thing about our auction platform, or our silent auction in general, is we try to steer away from some of the typical church silent auction items. You know, the simple, the running joke always was we had an antler bowl that looked like somebody maybe cleaned out a secondhand store from or something. But and then we instead of that, we had AirPods. You know, I mean, we had something that was really neat and cool, and we wanted $100 out of somebody, not $10 out of them.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of fun to dig in, see what we come up with for creative silent auction items. But that GiveSmart website's been good for us. And we've got the fourth year on this. We've got our website set up again. It's SMS winter event, all one word, .givesmart, one word, .com. And we can go to that site and take a look at what we're adding to it. It's also our sponsorship site, and it changes daily. We're adding new items. We get some donations in the form of money and also in items for the silent auction. So, and I think we've got some cool stuff every year. We've been able to find something different, and I think this year too will be something unique we'll find on there too.
When does the planning start? I mean, when I talk to people like Jay Faltz about Boxcar Days, it's like once Boxcar Days gets over 1 year, they take a little break and they start looking forward to the next one, because this has got to be almost a year-long process.
Yeah, like it's kind of the same way. Once it's done, we usually have a wrap-up meeting the week after or 2 weeks after, just talk about what went well and what didn't, and just get a general idea. But then we probably don't do anything over the summer, but once school gets going again, we make a point to meet up every couple months, and then now like the last 6 weeks or so we'll meet up weekly just to kind of hammer out the fine details.
Now, this has always taken place in the winter, right? Was that planned? Like when you're trying to cultivate an idea, the best time of the year isn't probably in the winter. And here we are. It's, we're pretty cold right now, and it'll get better, I'm sure. But the winter warm-up thing in the winter months kind of combine to make a fun event. But typically, we don't think of February as a month to have a big event.
In all honesty, it come down to February because that was the only weekend that it worked for the people that were going to have to put on. With like John and I having kids in high school, doing high school sports, and then just other grade school things where we kind of tried to do it in nicer weather, but it just never worked out on a time frame that it would work for everybody to do it. So in February is just kind of when it works out.
But it's a nice break too. And the positive side of this is we're all cramped up in the winter, right? Except for the sports and the high school sports and stuff. But I think it's nice to be able to have an event in the dead of winter when everyone's just waiting for spring. It's a nice little break for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's probably part of the reason why people seem to get on board with it. Like you said, it's a night out, gives them something to do.
When you talk about you get donations remotely, that brings to mind the alumni. Talk about how important alumni are, because a lot of people don't really think about that. They think about the here and now, but the alumni of St. Mary's has really, really supported you guys, haven't they?
They've been huge. I'll let John talk about the alumni since he is an alumni.
Yeah, right. That's fair.
No, it's a small school, so our alumni list is probably a lot smaller than what, the history of Tracy High School or public schools here. We've got about 900 people. We go back 70 years here, so we go back to 1955, and about 900 people on our list. And we just sent we've been sending out an alumni letter for many years prior to this. This alumni plea that we do now is purely focused on the donations towards the winter warm-up event, and we have gotten some funds. It's very, very interesting to connect with these people remotely. We send letters. It's amazing where our people are located. It's everywhere. We go Florida, Colorado, Texas, Alaska. I even have one in Germany,
Wow.
an address that we try to reach out to. And not all of them are correct. This day and age, there's not phone books even like they used to try to locate somebody. We're working through it to connect with all of them, but we do our best to, with the list we have. I get a lot of returned letters the first year and the second year, and we're kind of narrowing it down to who's out there and who we can reach. It's very interesting. Like I said, we send out things. We have a group of siblings that went together and made a large donation to us. Then they were from Colorado, is where that originated, and last year we had gotten a quilt from a quilter, class of 1965, St. Mary's
Wow.
class of 1965 from Florida, and had really an interesting story in the letter and the item that she sent. And so it's just really been some neat things over the years, whether it's that quilt or some woodworking things, or everybody has a unique story, and this gives them a chance to maybe tell that. And so the reach out to our alumni brings dollars in from outside of our local community. Sometimes we get tapped out pretty well in donations to our own. And so to reach out and get some money outside of the town or outside of our faith community, I guess, it's a good thing for us because it sure helps our numbers bringing in that kind of donation.
Can you give a little bit of a perspective of where this money goes? What are you using all this money? Because you guys are killing it as far as raising money. I know that. What is this money being used for?
Well, technically, it goes towards general fund, teacher salaries, paper, ink, bathroom supplies, anything and everything that goes through that school, some way or another. It goes towards that.
Yeah, our largest item on our budget obviously is teachers
Salaries, yeah.
just teacher salaries in general, and benefits, and so most of this is going to go to our operating general fund and keep our teachers paid, or our electric bill on, all that stuff. Like Cassidy said here, it funds the operating expenses of the school.
This might sound like a stupid question, and I'm a layman when it comes to this, but you don't get any state aid, private schools, do you?
No, the only thing is there is some textbook aid that we get, very small amount.
Okay.
It's public school funding that does come for that. Obviously, there's also a transportation aid that comes, and the public school system has been worked with us on transportation for many years. And once we hit sixth grade, kids go to seventh grade, and I think we ship over a good group of kids to them each year too. So.
What about getting the kids involved? When I go there, I see the kids, you're doing the raffle or I don't know, do you split the pot or you send the kids out amongst the crowd? How cool is that to be able to involve your kids?
Well, I know the kids themselves get excited about it. We try to bring in alumni to help with that. And it's been kind of nice because them kids that have gone through the school are now coming to the event and still helping the school out while they're running out doing all these things for us. And then after it's done, they're doing the same thing. They're going, well, make sure you reach out next year because I want to come help next year. So it's just another way to tie the alumni in, keep them involved. So hopefully as they go out and if they stick around, hopefully they want to continue to send their children to the school.
Yeah, it keeps it all kind of in the family, so to speak, and that the kids are involved now when they're in 5th or 6th grade. And then maybe when they're in high school, they'll come back, they'll continue to do it. Maybe, God willing, they'll make a home in Tracy and they'll still be a part of it, like Mr. Lanou here. And you're a lifer. You know, you grew up in that school, and now look at you, you're doing the same thing. So we've had Willy Wonka, we've had Cupid. Can you give our listeners a little bit of a hint on what's to come next month for this year's winter warm up? I'm not putting you on the spot. If you don't want to give anything away, I get it.
It's probably more, we're sadly pretty early into the process yet. We met up 2 weeks ago, and I think we finally kind of had our general idea as to where we want to go. Part of why I think it works and people keep coming is because it is a little bit secretive. So I'm not big on giving too much information, but maybe you got a way where you could.
No, I just laugh at the idea because we've done this now for a few years, and we start down a path and then we get to something and we go, hey, there's another shiny object over there. Let's go that route instead. And so we shift gears so often, and I think it's going to be a big combobulation of a bunch of different ideas that come together this year. And we're trying to reach out and get in some new members involved as well, and some people with some younger kids, so we have some longevity and to the process as well.
You guys sound like politicians. I'm doing my best to get a scoop here, and I can't do it. So my interviewing skills need a little revising, I guess. Cassidy and John, thank you so much for joining us. You are off the hot seat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Per.
This week's podcast was brought to you by Southwest Sanitation. Since 1967, the professionals at Southwest Sanitation have brought you reliable and honest service. We offer commercial, rural, and residential services, as well as roll-offs and portable toilets. Call your locally owned and operated neighbors at Southwest Sanitation for all your sanitation needs. 507-532-4500.